Hello everyone, it's Thursday and you're watching Within the Frame, where we delve deeper into the top stories not only in South Korea but across the globe. I'm Kim Bo-kyung. The battle over SM Entertainment's ownership. It began with activist fund Align Partners Capital Management raising concerns against the company's governance structure. SM Entertainment then began to raise questions about the founder Lee Soo-man's role in the agency. He teamed up with HYBE, the K-pop agency behind the global sensation BTS, after current SM executives joined forces with internet giant Kakao. What's behind this ownership battle, and how could the K-pop landscape change if HYBE does take over SM, or could Kakao take control? For an in-depth analysis, we invited Professor Kim Minkyun from Sogang University's Business School. Professor Kim, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me here today.
All right, and we also have Bernie Cho, president of DFSB Kollective, joining live from Los Angeles, California. Bernie, welcome, and thank you for your time.
That's good to be back.
All right. Now, Bernie, first question to you. It is no exaggeration to call Lee Soo-man a titan who not only built SM Entertainment, but was also behind some of SM's leading artists, such as HOT, Girls' Generation, and so on. But what made the agency veer away from Lee's dominant influence? I mean, how did this fight over ownership start in the first place?
Chairman Lee Soo-man, BSM of SM Entertainment, is widely regarded and, more importantly, widely respected as the godfather of K-pop. But unfortunately, currently, there's so much chaos and complexity over this battle royale for power and control of SM Entertainment. It really looks and feels more and more like the Godfather movie series, because it has a lot of intrigue, a lot of accusations, a lot of allegations, some ranging from questionable to unethical to just outright illegal. I think if we had to look at the timeline as to how this hot mess actually started and occurred, was about 2 years ago, the summer of 2021. It was widely rumored and reported that Chairman Lee was looking to sell his equity stake in SM Entertainment. It totaled about 18.27%. And obviously, given SM's history and legacy, this was a very hot IP, very hot content investment play. Pretty much anyone and everyone who is a titan in entertainment, media, and technology all were placing bids, and it looked like it was going to be a bidding war. But over the course of weeks, months, and over a year, each one of these major titans were at one point close to closing the deal, and then for some reason faded. CJ was considered a front runner. HYBE was actually known to be the first company to put in a bid. And at one point, a deal with Kakao was rumored to have been pretty much done. So there was a lot of mystery in the market as to what was going on and what was happening. And I think in many ways, the downfall was a company called Like Planning, which is a consulting company that turns out is Chairman Lee. And Like Planning was something that minority shareholders, and particularly, as you mentioned, the activist investment group, Align Partners, they did not like the arrangement with Like Planning, because turns out over the past 22 years, Like Planning was pocketing nearly 1/3 of the operating profits annually from SM Entertainment, money that a lot of shareholders, minority shareholders who take up 80% of the company, thought should have been provided as dividends. And it was just recently leaked that Like Planning had a contract built so that Chairman Lee was entitled, and he's a 70-year-old man right now, entitled to royalties until the year 2092 for another 70 years. Mm-hmm. And so the Like Planning getting kicked out, getting the contract canceled, I think was really what accelerated this snowball fight into an avalanche that it is right now.
I see. Now, before we get into the details on the reason why HYBE eventually decided to acquire a 14.8% stake in its rival K-pop agency, let's dig into the deal between SM Entertainment and Kakao first. So, Professor Kim, so the mega deal between HYBE and SM Entertainment comes after SM and Kakao signed a separate deal under which Kakao acquired around a 9% stake of SM by buying newly issued shares and convertible bonds, but Lee Soo-man filed a lawsuit to nullify that. What is this about?
I think it's kind of a starting point for the like planning. Well, the minority shareholders didn't like the Chairman Lee receive a lot of money from the producing for the entertainers, and he trying to get his money to into his own personal company, which is like planning. So what they're trying to do in the current management is they're trying to share the bond to the Kakao, and if Kakao buy this convertible bond, where they will get the share of 9% of the SM Entertainment. So, well, basically what they're trying to do, when they issue the convertible bond, well, usually the company issue the convertible bond is their financial status is in trouble. But SM's cases, well, basically they are fine. Well, even though we're not going to say, okay, they are in good condition, but we are not going to say, okay, they are not good enough to share the convertible bond to Kakao. So what they're trying to do is for the Chairman Lee, they oppose. They're trying to issue the legal issues, and they try to pause those kind of deal. And then Chairman Lee is trying to work with HYBE to get the share. Give them share, so the HYBE can get the first the major major shareholders for the SM Entertainment. So it's kind of, well, as you can see, it's kind of the ownership. And basically with this kind of fight for the ownership and who's gonna get the majority and who's gonna get the basically the manage the SM Entertainment. So, well, I think we're gonna see the how it's gonna go for those kind of issues, but well, I don't think like it's gonna take some time to get the Kakao receive like 9% of the shares for the SM Entertainment due to the legal issues.
Right, I can see how complicated this issue is. Now, one more question, Professor Kim.
Yes.
It seems so the court's ruling is going to be very important for both of the parties, Kakao and HYBE, in terms of getting the ownership of SM Entertainment. Now, experts say the timing of the ruling would be very important as well.
Yes.
Could you elaborate for us on the potential scenarios that could play out depending on the court's decision?
Basically, well, if court decision is kind of delayed, then HYBE is trying to buy all the stocks from the SM. Basically, well, HYBE is trying to buy the SM's Entertainment in the stock market as a one share for like 120,000 won, which is like a $100 US dollars for one share. So they already trying begin to prepare to buy the shares for the SM in the trade market. So if the legal issues, basically the court make a decision, those kind of decision is delayed, then I think it's kind of the HYBE step is faster than the Kakao is getting to those kind of the ownership fight. So it's kind of very important when the decision from the court will be in process or it's going to be delayed. It's kind of the timing, its timing is kind of very critical because of those kind of issues.
Right, interesting. Now, Bernie, the word is that if HYBE does get a grip of the entertainment agency, it will be able to expand the boundaries of what it's been doing up until now. Now, what aspect of SM Entertainment would provide such kind of opportunities for HYBE?
Again, I've read a lot of the reactions ranging from the mildly emotional to the highly rational from K-pop fans and more importantly from Kospi and Kosdaq financial analysts alike. And I think one of the things that people often forget when we talk about HYBE is they're not just a music company, they're not just an entertainment company, they're also a tech company. And obviously, the headlines are just highlighting the fact that they made a very splashy strategic investment into SM Entertainment. But we can't forget that HYBE has also done a strategic investment in YG Plus so that YG artists can appear on their tech platforms. Currently, HYBE not only has one, but they have two very market-leading, market-dominant platforms. One is called Weverse, which is currently the #1 fan community platform in the world. for K-pop fans. And if we look at just the numbers of subscribers, it would be one of the leading music platforms in the world on its own with the amount of money that each of these fans are spending. And then when we look at Web3 and we talk about the metaverse, one of the fastest growing metaverse platforms and the biggest metaverse platform in Asia right now is Zepeto, which HYBE also has a very active investment and participation in. And so for them to bring in SM's IP, SM's content, SM's artists into this ecosystem, they're no longer going to be the market leaders. They're going to become the market standard for these new emerging Web 2, Web 3 platforms. And so I think that, the way HYBE has positioned themselves with this SM Entertainment investment, we can't just look at the music. We got to look further and farther into the tech play that's involved as well.
Right, interesting. Now, Professor Kim, so after striking a purchase agreement with Lee, HYBE offered to buy up to a 25% stake on the open market by March 1st. And if that succeeds, they will hold around 40% stake in SM Entertainment. And pundits say the Fair Trade Commission could raise the issue of a monopoly being created due to HYBE's acquisition of SM. What is this about?
I think it's kind of for the entertainment industry, where it's kind of very difficult to determine the monopoly of those kind of industry situation. So I think even though we a little bit worry about this, they're going to raise some issues, especially for the monopoly issues, but I don't think it's going to take like a very fast time for they make a quick decision. So we're gonna see how it's gonna go on, especially for the Fair Trade Commission. But I expect that it's not gonna cause a lot of trouble, especially for the legal issues on the monopoly issues.
Right, I see. Now, Bernie, so apart from these whole complicated legal issues, once the acquisition is complicated as HYBE planned, a K-pop behemoth will be born, as you mentioned earlier. Some foreign media outlets are even saying that it's going to be as big as established music label giant Sony and Universal and Warner Music. How would such consolidation reshape the K-pop scene and industry?
What's really interesting is the day HYBE announced this strategic investment into SM Entertainment, there actually in the U.S. was a bigger announcement from HYBE America. They had 100% acquired QC, Quality Control, which is one of the hottest hip-hop labels in the U.S. And that acquisition alone really sort of showed to the international music industry that HYBE is very much post-BTS. If we look at the roster of HYBE's artists, it's not just K-pop. HYBE, vis-a-vis through their acquisition of Ithaca Holdings and Scooter Braun, they not only have a lineup of some of the top pop artists in the world, but be it Justin Bieber or Ariana Grande, they also are involved with one of the biggest country music labels in the world, Big Machine Records out of Nashville. And they are currently represent one of the biggest Latin music artists, J Balvin, one of the biggest electronic music artists, David Guetta. And now through QC's acquisition, they now have a huge footprint in hip hop. So given the diversity, given the dynamics, and given the depth of HYBE's, not just artists, but executive lineup, executive roster, they feel like a major label. And again, this isn't me being a fanboy or putting out some sort of nationalistic flex. If we look at the cold, hard numbers, the facts and the stats, the reality is that the number one music company in the world is Universal. Number two is Sony Music. Number three is Warner. And if we look at pure revenues, HYBE would come in as the fourth largest music entertainment company in the world. And the reason I would throw down and say that is the last time the music industry had what was called the Big Four, the number four was EMI. And when they were acquired by Universal Music a little over 10 years ago, they were generating revenues of a little bit over $1 billion. And if we use that baseline, that benchmark, that bottom line of whether it's £1 billion, €1 billion, or $1 billion, HYBE is way above that. I mean, they're projected to be generating close to $1.6 billion in 2022. And so the reality is if we look at their pure revenues, and this was irrespective of the SM Entertainment announcement, they are basically now considered a big four, top four music entertainment company in the world. And obviously, if they tack on and add on SM Entertainment, it will get them that much closer towards possibly maybe inching up on number 3, which is Warner Music.
Wow, so it wasn't such an exaggeration to say that the HYBE is going to be very big as much as, like Universal and Warner Music, like foreign media outlets said. Very interesting. And Professor Kim, on the other hand, why are platforms like Kakao interested in investing in and taking ownership of entertainment businesses apart from HYBE's, motive behind this decision?
Kakao is basically the platform company, so they're trying to have they're trying to provide the content to their customers. But whenever they're looking for the good content, like HYBE, SM Entertainment is kind of Kpop, is basically the best content they can provide to in Korea as it is all over the world. So if they have very good content like a K-pop and any other entertainment content, and Kakao has an opportunity of looking into the global market. So it's going to create a lot of strengths for the Kakao situation. That's why the Kakao is trying to work with the SM and they're trying to get the shares for the SM to get those kind of strengths so that they can penetrate into the world market with the K-pop content. I think Kakao has a lot of a way to looking for the opportunity, especially into the global market. I think K-pop content is kind of the best weapon that they can get and they can penetrate into the world market.
Right, so that was the reason why Kakao was jumping into this kind of battle. Now, Professor Kim, one more question. Meanwhile, the battle over the ownership of SM Entertainment is benefiting minority shareholders of the agency, increasing the company's value and raising the share price. How are market experts seeing the battle and what impact is it going to have on those companies' stocks?
I think it's going to create a lot of opportunity for the minority shareholders. Basically, if you look at the stock market, the stock price for the SM is kind of skyrocketing right now because Kakao is trying to make a bid when, like HYBE is trying to buy the the stocks for the SM. So basically, in this in trade market, as you know, the demand is gonna up. The supply stays same. So basically, the stock price is gonna go up. I think they're gonna look at those future value for the SM is kind of the high price. Basically, current stock market is evaluated by the future value for SM Entertainment. So I think they expect that if HYBE is trying to get the ownership for the SM, I think as Bernie told that it's gonna create a lot of synergies. So basically, where they can expand into more like a label company as well as content providers, and they can penetrate into the US market as well as the other world market. So it's going to create basically the more revenue, more profit. I think it's going to create more values. I think it's going to have a very good news for the minority shareholders. I think shareholders right now is very happy to hear those kind of news. But on the other hand, as you Bernie mentioned, well, there are many bad news, like unethical issues is gonna come out when they trying to fight in the current SM management and Chairman Lee. I think it's kind of the bad aspect of this kind of situation right now. But I think, well, when everything is settled down, especially for the ownership, they're trying to maintain the transparency for the SM Entertainment. I think, well, it has a lot of potential. Comparing the current situation, I think it's going to create more values for the shareholders so that, well, maybe minority shareholders will be very happy to read those kind of situation.
Right. Now I'm kind of regretting why I didn't buy my stocks for SM Entertainment. Now, Bernie, how are other major K-pop agencies like YG Entertainment and JYP, along with small and medium-sized agencies, viewing this battle over SM's ownership?
Well, for disclosure. One, I can't speak on behalf of YG or JYP Entertainment for personal reasons, but two, for professional reasons. They're both publicly traded stocks at the moment. And so even if I knew anything, I wouldn't even be allowed to talk about it. And that's, I think, one of the beauties about the K-pop market is the fact that the top music companies are publicly traded. And this is one of the reasons why currently now that K-pop music companies, I think, have evolved and have really developed so quickly is because the bar of what's expected from them keeps getting higher and higher and higher. And this bar is not just from the fans, it's now from financial analysts and now investors and shareholders as well. And so although currently the process that we're certainly seeing unfold in real time related to SM Entertainment, it might be painful to watch for some people, but I think in the end, it's a good thing for not just the market, not just for the company, but for the entire industry, because it will push other music companies, other entertainment companies to basically hit and reach higher standards and higher values. Otherwise, they too could become the next headline news and the next talking topic on shows like this.
Right, so it might be a driving force for other small and medium-sized companies and other big companies as well to develop their own strengths. All right, unfortunately, this is all the time we have for today's edition, but thank you, Bernie and Professor Kim, for giving us a better understanding of the battle's focal points and how the feud over SM Entertainment's ownership will reshape the K-pop scene. We appreciate them.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, that's all for Within the Frame tonight. We will be back tomorrow with more in-depth stories. Thank you for watching and goodbye.